It would seem that businesses across the country have figured out how to get people to return to work. And they're going about doing so by raising their wages. Take a look at this.
After miraculously surviving a devastating pandemic, small business owners are working to recover and rebuild. But now they face a new obstacle: a lack of workers. A March survey by the National Federation of Independent Business found that 42% of owners had job openings that could not be filled, a record high. 91% of those hiring or trying to hire reported few or no qualified applicants for the positions they were trying to fill. The reasons for this vary. Potential workers may be unvaccinated, some working parents still struggle with a lack of childcare or in-person schooling, and many, like restaurant workers, are still hesitant to return and risk getting sick. But amid the labor shortage, several small businesses in Pittsburgh found they were able to lure people back to the workforce and start filling their open positions. How did they do this? By targeting the issue of wages. Clavon's ice cream parlor in the Strip District found itself without enough workers for the upcoming spring and summer rush. Then, at the end of March, the parlor announced it would more than double their starting wage, going from $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour. Maya Johnson, the general manager of Clavon, said, "It was instant, overnight. We got thousands of applications that poured in." The Goat Sports Bar in Cranberry is attracting workers in a similar way. The Goat is guaranteeing all front-of-house workers, such as servers and bartenders, a $20 an hour minimum wage. If a front-of-house worker doesn't average $20 an hour at the end of the week when factoring in their tips earned over the same period, the sports bar will pay the workers the difference. So while some eligible workers are simply unable still to return to the workforce, others are sending a clear signal: we need more motivation to come back.
Okay, this will be very brief. This won't be long. This doesn't require an extensive analysis or a long talk. This is very, very simple. This video just reiterates something that I have been saying and many others that have been saying about this lack of jobs or this lack of workers, this lack of labor that the business class and the top earners in this country, the big CEOs and the owners of certain businesses and entities and enterprises will have you believe that people aren't going to work. There's a labor shortage. There's a shortness of workers. Essentially, what's been happening is people have been receiving unemployment benefits from the federal government, from the state. They've been receiving stimulus checks to help them throughout this prolonged time of anguish that was caused by capitalism. But, we can throw it on the pandemic. Pandemics occur, but these crashes in capitalism occur much more often. And so as we transverse through this difficult time, many people have been laid off, they've lost their job, many people have been deterred away from work, among other reasons. But there have been this talk about people not returning to work because they're receiving this compensation from the government. And as a result, there have been several states so far, Republican states, where they have cut the unemployment from the federal government. They have been getting rid of benefits that the American people, the working class, has been receiving for their troubles endured or caused by this pandemic. And they have been vitriolic to the stimulus, whether it's $600, $1,200, $1,400, the little crumbs that they receive from the government that's not reoccurring. They just get it every now and again to sort of keep you on your feet, keep your head above water. And for some people, it doesn't even do that. And they are demonizing that money and saying that those are the reasons why people are not returning to work, because they're making so much more from those programs than they are at their job. And of course, I've said on many occasions, the simple solution to that is to raise their wages. And as we see in that video, the Clavon ice cream parlor in Pittsburgh, they were offering the starting wage to new employees of $7.25 an hour. For those of you that aren't aware, that is the federal minimum wage in this country. That is America. And among all industrial nations, that is, it ranks among the bottom of wages in respective countries. I mean, we're paying our working class amongst the least, okay? And so They were giving out $7.25. They weren't getting any applications, and they literally more than doubled their starting wage to $15 an hour. And the applications started pouring in. And it's not just this ice cream parlor in Pittsburgh. McDonald's, Chipotle, Olive Garden, many other businesses have been taking this approach, and it's been working. Want to know why? Because that is the correct kind of incentive to get people to go back to work. You see, this isn't difficult to understand. The business class, the owners, the big CEOs, the corporatists, the shareholders of any company, and the politicians even, they're aided by this because those are the people that fund their political campaigns, right? They're incredibly corrupt. We know that. They're demonizing the unemployment insurance and the stimulus checks, and they're getting rid of those things. They're cutting those things. They're taking those social programs away, and they're trying to make it to where the people, the working class, are in such a desperate situation. They're in such a bad situation. Their back is so far up against the wall that they have no other choice but to turn to a job that's paying them starvation wages. And therefore, the big CEOs, the owners of these businesses, can continue to profit and make the money that they wouldn't otherwise make. They'd still make money. They wouldn't walk around wearing burlap sacks if they gave their workers higher wages. But they need the surplus value. They need the extra money that they wouldn't otherwise receive if they were to pay higher wages. So they do things like this. And it's incredibly damning because a lot of these corporations have openly admitted, they're on the record saying that they can give their employees a $15 minimum wage or more than that. They're entirely capable of doing that. But they don't want to. You know, a lot of these businesses have been, they've lost funds during the pandemic. We know how hard the pandemic has hit many businesses, small businesses, big businesses, whatever. But this is a money-driven system, and it's meant to maximize profit, and that's what they're doing. And this is just another method of doing so.